Colleagues, welcome everyone to the Lunch with IUFRO session at the Ufo World Day. My name is Alexander Buck and I'm the Executive Director of the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, in brief IUFRO. I have the great pleasure of moderating this plenary session. Before we continue with the official program, I would like to just briefly share some short housekeeping announcements. The session will be recorded and made publicly available during and after Ufo World Day. Screenshots will also be taken during the session and used for communication about the event. In case you would prefer to remain anonymous, I kindly ask you to please turn off your camera and to just rename yourself. In case you are interested in sharing your own posts via the social media, please use the hashtag IUFRO World Day, and I very much encourage you to share through your social media. I'm very pleased to introduce Maximilian Wagner, who will provide technical support throughout the session. Hello, Maximilian. Hello. In case you have any technical difficulties, which we hope won't be the case, but we never know, please send a message via the chat box to Maximilian, and he will assist you as much as he can. Now let us start the program with a toast by the President. If you have a glass of water, a cup of tea, or any other beverage, we welcome you to join in the toast by switching on your camera and raising your glass with us at the end of the President's statement. I would like to now invite Ufro's President, John Burotte, to share some welcome remarks. John, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Alexander. It's my great pleasure to join you today for this Ufo World Day lunch session. I would particularly like to welcome our participants from Africa, Europe, and the Middle East, and of course, all of you who have joined us from other parts of the world. I hope you've already been enjoying the rich menu of live and pre-recorded presentations and discussions on today's program, organized by a variety of UFRO's units and member organizations. Ufo World Day is a unique interactive event designed to showcase the tremendous diversity and vitality of the Ufro network. Because this is Ufro's first ever global 24-hour online event, it's also an exciting experiment. It offers a great opportunity to introduce colleagues from around the world to Ufro's global network for collaboration in forest science, and hopefully inspire you to join us as we work together to help solve some of today's great environmental, social, and economic challenges. This event would not have been possible without the generous support provided by the Federal Ministry for Agriculture, Regions, and Tourism of the Republic of Austria, the host country of our UFRO headquarters. For this support, we are sincerely grateful. The impressive number of sessions and wealth of information that has been organized and provided by UFRO's divisions, task forces, special programs and projects, as well as UFRO member organizations for this event is truly amazing. I would like to thank all of you who have contributed to this World Day program, as well as the more than 2,500 colleagues and friends who have registered to participate. Why is this event so important? This past year and a half have been an extraordinarily challenging time for all of us. Since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, large physical conferences, workshops, and training events, the activities that UFO has traditionally relied upon to catalyze international collaboration, have just not been possible. This has limited opportunities, especially for younger scientists and students, to become acquainted with and involved in the full range of UFRO's exciting and important work. But we have risen to the challenge. UFRO's divisions, task forces, and special programs have made extraordinary and successful efforts to continue our networking activities through dozens of virtual conferences, webcasts, and workshops. This event, Ufo World Day, is a further expression of our commitment not only to maintain our networking, but to expand it by providing an opportunity for many more scientists and students to get involved. I especially welcome the young and early career scientists who have joined us today. UFRO provides an essential platform for voluntary research collaboration and the sharing of experiences and insights among forest scientists worldwide. This collaboration accelerates the pace of research and the development of locally adapted solutions to the wide range of forest-related challenges currently facing the world. I know from personal experience the value of getting involved in UFRO as an early career scientist. Back in the early 1990s, I was a young researcher working for the US Forest Service on the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. At that time, there were relatively few forest scientists, or so I thought, who shared my interest in how planted forests could be used to rehabilitate degraded lands and restore functioning forest ecosystems. At that time, a senior colleague of mine proposed a new UFRO unit on tropical forest restoration and asked me to coordinate it. In those days, there was no social media, no internet even. So I proceeded to write letters, remember letters, to colleagues I didn't even know, but whose work in various countries in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, as well as Australia, I had read about in scientific journals. The response was fantastic. Before I knew it, this new UFRO unit had something like 60 members, and soon we were organizing conferences, joint research projects, and co-authoring publications for peer-reviewed journals. And that was just the beginning. UFRO changed my life, enriched my career, and introduced me to colleagues from around the world who have since become great friends. And it could happen to you too. So in the next approximately 2 hours, let us enjoy lunch with UFRO and get a taste of what UFRO has to offer. I invite you all to raise your drinks and toast to the UFRO network and all it has to offer, to us as scientists and to the world that needs science-based solutions to solve global forest-related challenges. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much, John, especially also for sharing with us your personal experience with UFRO. On this high note, it is our pleasure to invite another very honorable guest. As many of you will know, UFRO headquarters are located in Vienna, the capital of Austria. UFRO's core activities are generously supported by the host country, Austria, on an ongoing basis. In addition to this, Ufo World Day has been made possible through financial support from the Austrian Federal Ministry for Agriculture, Regions and Tourism. We are now going to watch a video message by the Austrian Federal Minister for Agriculture, Regions and Tourism, Elisabeth Köstinger.
Dear participants and organizers of the Ufo World Day, I'm delighted to welcome you on behalf of the Republic of Austria as host country of UFRO headquarters. The UFRO World Day as a global digital forest science forum defies the challenges of the pandemic. It demonstrates new paths in showcasing the achievements of forest-related research. We rely on science and research, especially at a critical point in time, as we are not only facing a global pandemic, but also several consequences of climate change. This is the reason I recently initiated the Austrian Forest Fund supporting our forests with 350 million euros. The investments of this forest fund are dedicated to the future of climate-smart, diverse and resilient forests. I'm very happy that you're here today. It's a world exposition for forest-related science organizations as well as a platform for researchers and stakeholders to meet and talk. It also aims to have an active exchange of knowledge, especially invites young scientists to take an active role. The support of young professionals, and especially women in forestry, is one of my priorities. We organized the first ever virtual conference on forests in women's hand this spring, which was a huge success. From all around the world, we brought forest practitioners, scientists and stakeholders together. Connecting people and scientists is crucial in developing sound and evidence-based policy options and support. The key forest issues such as forest and water interactions, forest-based bioeconomy and living with wildfires under a changing environment will be part of the next sessions. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the outcome of your sessions and wish you successful and good discussions. All the best.
Thank you, Minister Köstinger, for your video contribution. Dear participants, the next item on the menu is the Mixed World Day Platter, which will provide a brief orientation of IUFRO, a brief orientation to IUFRO. And I suggest that we begin by watching a brief 3-minute video about UFRO.
Forests and trees are diverse and complex and cover about 1/3 of the world's land base. They grow in different climates and environments and on different soils. They come in all shapes and sizes, in groups or alone, have different needs and offer various goods and services. The livelihoods of more than 1/4 of the Earth's population depend on forests. This is why scientists worldwide want to know more about forests and trees. They want to understand exactly how they grow, what makes them healthy, and how to use them. And they want to help them cope with impacts from an increasing world population and climate change. As forests and trees are often at risk of being harmed or lost. For these scientists, the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, UFRO, has developed a global network for voluntary cooperation, open to all individuals and organizations dedicated to forest and forest products research and related disciplines. It offers opportunities to meet, work together, exchange ideas, access information, and present findings. This avoids duplication, fosters scientific excellence, and increases the visibility of research. Scientists, like forests, are very diverse. They have different interests and needs and work in different environments. UFRO provides a convenient structure where they can fit in perfectly. 9 divisions with their research groups and working parties are the backbone of this structure. They cover overarching forest-related themes such as silviculture, management, genetics, pests and diseases, economics or social and policy issues. For cross-cutting key topics, UFRO establishes task forces. UFRO also offers capacity building for researchers from economically disadvantaged countries. It seeks to strengthen education on forests and increase cooperation with related scientific disciplines and stakeholder groups. UFRO participates in global policy processes and provides scientific analyses for decision makers, always with a view to reaching the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Currently, UFRO unites more than 15,000 scientists in almost 700 member organizations in 125 countries. Together, they contribute to the knowledge needed to ensure that all people benefit now and in future years from the economic, social, and environmental goods and services forests and trees provide. UFRO, interconnecting forests, science, and people.
Dear participants, as you have seen, UFRO interconnects forest science and people. I would now like to share a little bit more detail about exactly how this works. We ask you to kindly note down any questions you may have, since myself and other staff members will be available to answer these questions during the Coffee and Cake with Division segment that will follow later today. And I will now try to share my screen to show you the presentation.
Yeah, I'm just going through this. There's only one thing which I just checking out my on the management and stakeholders page when
I'm not sure. Can you already see the screen?
Yes, we see the
but
PowerPoint.
not yet the full screen mode, I believe.
Yes.
So I'll try to change this. Okay, so I hope you can now see the full screen.
No, we don't.
Okay, oops.
Should I jump in?
Maybe Maximilian, you could help. Thank you so much.
Yes, can you stop your screen sharing?
Yes, yes. Colleagues, I apologize for the brief technical hiccup. Maximilian, this is unfortunately not the correct presentation.
Sorry.
This gives me an opportunity to once more welcome all those participants who have joined in the last minutes. So we are now in the mixed world day platter segment of the opening, and now we can see the presentation. I would like to start by giving just a brief recap of what Ufro is. You have just heard it and seen it in the Explain It video. Ufro is a global, non-profit, non-governmental, and non-discriminatory scientific organization. The collaboration in Ufro actually happens in 9 divisions, 9 interdisciplinary task forces, and 4 special programs and projects, which bring together more than 600 office holders serving in a voluntary capacity. Every year, there are approximately 70 Ufro meetings, nowadays taking the form of different formats, physical meetings, virtual meetings, predominantly virtual meetings recently, and also some hybrid forms. Ufro is a very traditional organization in terms of its long history. It was founded in 1892, and its headquarters is based in Vienna, Austria. Next slide, please. Ufro's 9 divisions are the best entry point for researchers. As you can see on the slide, there are 9 divisions covering the major research areas in forest-related sciences. Division 1 is silviculture, Division 2 covers physiology and genetics, Division 3 covers forest operations, engineering and management. Division 4 looks at forest assessment, modeling and management. Division 5 covers the wide field of forest products. Division 6 focuses on social aspects of forests and forestry, while Division 7 deals with forest health. Division 8 with forest environment, and Division 9 actually addresses another very broad field, forest policy and economics. Next slide, please. I would now like to just explain in a little bit more detail how you can actually identify issues and units of particular interest to you. Say, for example, you're interested in pine wilt disease, and that is just a random example that we chose. So the starting point for you would be to look up the forest health, that's division number 7 in Ufro. Each division, so the work in each division is spread out over a number of research groups. So in division number 7, there are 2 of those, namely entomology and pathology. Obviously, pine wilt disease forms part of the pathology, the forest pathology. So you would then have a closer look at the research group on pathology, and you will find out that under this research group, you will find 11 working parties. And there you will also find working party 70210 covering pine wilt disease. And each one of those, the divisions, the research groups, and all the working parties are being coordinated by a coordinator and a number of deputies. And you can find their contact details on the Ufro webpage. Next slide, please. So therefore, I would encourage you to visit the Ufro Working Party website. So all you have to do is you click on the signs in Ufro and locate the working party, as I've just explained. And there, as you can see on the screenshot from the Ufro webpage, you will find the names and the contact details of the coordinators, which will allow you to actually get in touch with these office holders. And you will also find on that same working party webpage information on meetings, projects, publications, the expertise of the various office holders, and so on. So in this particular case, you can see that an international Ufro symposium on pine wilt disease will come up in November this year. And I warmly encourage you to contact these office holders and ask them to be included in the work of the respective working party. Next slide, please. The science collaboration Ufro is supported by a number of so-called special programs and projects. In total, there are 4 of those. These are the Special Program for Development of Capacities, the IUFRO SPDC, the Global Forest Expert Panels Program, in brief GFAP, the Special Project on World Forest Society and Environment, in brief IUFRO WFSE, as well as the Special Program Directors Forum, the IUFRO SPDF. And once more, I want to give you just one example and would ask Maximilian to show the next slide. And that is the special program for development of capacities, the IUFRO SBDC. That particular program supports scientific networking in UFRO through 4 interconnected streams of activity. First of all, the IUFRO SBDC offers training workshops to scientists from economically disadvantaged regions on issues as diverse as research management, scientific methods, but also science policy interfacing and science communications. Through the so-called Scientist Assistance Program, the SBDC provides support for the participation of early and mid-career scientists from economically disadvantaged regions to participate in UFRO conferences and events. The SBDC also implements a number of thematic networking activities which are addressed to scientists from less developed regions and which aim at maximizing the impact of the science of the scientists on forest policy, but also for on-the-ground forest management. And lastly, UFRO SBDC also runs the Young Scientist Initiative, which is a program that provides grants for short scientific visits to early career scientists. And through these various activities, the SBDC contributes to expanding and fostering forest research capacity in economically disadvantaged countries. Next slide, please. So once more, to recap a little bit, what I would encourage you to do, if you find all this interesting and if you think that you want to become part of the UFRO network, to visit the UFRO website and especially also check the section about discovering UFRO, to look for UFRO units under the Science in UFRO, as I had previously explained, to find out who is who in UFRO and to contact the office holders of particular interest to you. I very warmly also invite you and encourage you to participate in UFRO co-sponsored events, such as this UFRO World Day, and also, of course, to read and contribute to the UFRO publications. And you can find a wealth of publications on the UFRO website. And of course, ideally, I would also ask you to become a member and become an office holder so as to really become very actively involved in UFRO. Next slide, please. Becoming a member of UFRO is actually quite easy, and it offers a range of benefits. First of all, as has also been mentioned in the video, it allows you to really make truly global connections with peer scientists around the world. As a member of IUFRO, you're also eligible for UFRO's awards. These include, for example, the Scientific Achievement Award, the Outstanding Doctoral Research Award, the UFRO Student Award for Excellence in Forest Science, and also the Best Poster Award. So you see there is an award for different levels of scientific activity, and this is also some very attractive feature of UFRO. Next slide, please. You can also benefit from the support that UFRO Special Program for Development of Capacities gives to members specifically in economically disadvantaged countries to participate in UFRO trainings and meetings, as I've explained a moment ago. And also important, you can benefit from the reduced registration fee for members at the IUFRO World Congresses. The next UFO World Congress is taking place in June 2024 in Stockholm, Sweden, and we will hear more about this in a few moments. And of course, there are many, many more benefits of being a member of IUFRO. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, joining UFRO is really easy. All you need to do is to find the application form on the UFRO website in the section Membership, and you do have the link here on the slide. The membership fees for member organizations are moderate and take into account the situation of economies as well as the number of scientists employed. So that applies to UFRO member organizations, and everyone working for a member organization can enjoy the benefits of UFRO membership. At the same time, it's also possible for individuals to become a UFRO member, so-called associate member. So I would very warmly encourage all those of you who are not yet members of UFRO to consider becoming a member of UFRO, either as a whole institution, as a member organization, or by joining as an individual. Next slide, please. And with that, I want to thank you very warmly for your attention for this presentation. We look very much forward to hearing from you. And on this slide, you can find our contact details, but also the social media information. So please, if you're interested, follow us on UFRO, on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or subscribe to our UFRO Instagram account. Thank you, Maximilian. I think we can close the presentation. And colleagues, of course, I hope that this has provided a useful orientation, and I look very much forward to meeting and discussing further in about 45 minutes time when we are going to have the meeting with the UFRO division. Colleagues, the third course on today's menu is the so-called smorgasbord. That is a Swedish term, and maybe our next speaker can explain in a bit more detail what actually the term means. And for this, I now invite Fredrik Ingemarsson, who's the director of the Ufo World Congress 2024, to make a short presentation about the IUFRO World Congress 2024. Fredrik, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. It is a true honor for me to address you all here at this limitless IUFRO World Day event that give us this chance to meet and connect across the globe. And I'm proud to invite you to the next part of today's lunch session, which is served as a buffet, a typical Swedish smorgasbord, as Alexander mentioned, with several dishes. And the buffet I'm going to present to you today is very tasty, enjoyable, exciting, and certainly worth traveling to. It is the upcoming IUFRO World Congress that will take place in the summer of 2024 in Stockholm, Sweden. In the next couple of minutes, I will give you a sneak preview of the Congress and try my very best to encourage you to follow, join, and actively take part on the journey from where you are here and now to Stockholm in June 2024. And why do we want to take active part in the Ufo World Congress? Oh, there are many reasons and many good ones for that. The Ufo World Congress takes place every 5th year in different parts of the world. As you might already know, the IUFRO World Congress has a scientific core. You are obviously interested in science, but will your area of interest and expertise be included in the IUFRO World Congress? For sure. The Congress title, Forest and Society Towards 2050, clearly indicates a very broad scope. It goes without saying that the Congress makes a unique platform for most of you interested in the future. Whether you come from science, industry, or business, government agencies, or from an NGO. We will focus on the forest contribution to the 2030 agenda and its 17 sustainable development goals. The broadness will be further expressed in the main Congress themes, and these are not yet finally decided on, but I will provide you with a draft. Strengthening forest resilience and adaptation to stress. Forest biodiversity and its ecosystem services. Towards a responsible forest bioeconomy. Forest for sustainable societies. Forest for the future. So, one very good reason for you to join is to contribute with your expertise so that we together can help streamlining the forest research agenda. During the Congress week in Stockholm, there will be keynotes, plenary sessions, sub-plenary sessions, and thousands of presentations in technical sessions. You can influence the scientific program by sending a session proposal. A call for session proposals will be made the 1st of June next year. You can give a presentation and we will be happy to receive your abstract in the first part of 2023. The World Congress will give you an excellent opportunity to get a glimpse of and experience Northern Europe. There will be a smorgasbord of in-Congress excursions, all starting and ending in Stockholm, providing scientifically grounded discussions about forest-related and cross-sectoral challenges, together with representatives from government, NGOs, industries, etc. The rich and diverse landscapes of the Nordic and Baltic countries offer a variety of forest sites, as well as cultures, stakeholders, and markets. But you will also get the chance to get acquaintance with our neighboring countries. Since the Congress is not only a Swedish, but a common Nordic effort, the post-excursions to the Nordic and Baltic countries will make an important contribution to the program. The preparations has been characterized by a strong community spirit among the partners in Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Norway, and Sweden. We will have an important meeting coming up in December this year with the partners. The geographical position of Stockholm makes it swiftly to travel to the neighboring countries in the region around the Baltic Sea and the Atlantic. Each post-Congress tour have different themes and will take about 4 days. Examples of post-Congresses are the sandy peninsula in the Baltic Sea, 2 excursions to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, forestry in a treeless land, 2 excursions to Iceland, under the midnight sun, 2 excursions to Sweden and Finland. We organizers would very much like to join a dialogue and co-create with us on the future of global forests. Other important reasons for your participation in Stockholm is that it will give you an excellent possibility to expand your professional network. And if you don't watch out, you can get friends for life. Although I now have expressed several motives for attending the Ufo World Congress, I think the main reason still might be left to be pointed out. The very same that I have made me join IUFRO for the last 20 years. And the reason is it's great fun. Please keep yourself updated via the Congress website regarding calls for sessions and abstracts, as well as other exciting news. My final effort to win your World Congress heart is a video. It is less than 2 minutes long, so please stay till the end of it. Before it starts, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I hope to meet you in Stockholm. Thank you. Please, Maximilian, you're welcome to show the video.
Thank you very much, Frederick, for this very cordial invitation to join the IUFRO World Congress in June 2024 in beautiful Stockholm. And I would like to echo your words and really also extend that invitation to everyone joining this call. It will be a great event. We are slightly ahead of schedule, so therefore I would like to ask if there are any questions. I think we have time to take 1 or 2 questions from the floor. You may either raise your hand or insert a note in the chat box. So in case anyone would like to ask any question, please raise your hand or insert a note in the chat box. It seems, Frederick, you have given a crystal clear presentation. And of course, there's still a few years to go until we can all come together in Stockholm. So let me quickly check also if there is anything in the chat box. That does not seem to be the case. In that case, I suggest, first of all, that we thank once again Frederick for the excellent presentation and the very nice video, and that we move on to the next program item. And I forgot to say, if you do still have any questions after the event about the IUFRO Congress, please send these questions to the organizing team. The contact details will be provided in the chat. So please check your chat for the contact for Frederick's and colleagues' contact details, and please then address any questions which you may have to them. Colleagues, this concludes this segment of the lunch with the UFRO session, and I want to thank all the speakers and now actually pass the moderation over to my colleague Diksha Devkoda to guide us through the next item on the menu. Diksha, over to you.
Thank you, Alexander. I hope you can hear me well. My name is Diksha Devkoda, and I'm the project manager of the Global Forest Expert Panels Program, in short GFEP at UFRO. It is a pleasure to moderate the youthful cuisine component of this lunch with UFRO plenary session. During this component, we will hear from 3 scientists at different career stages about their experience with UFRO. After these 3 presentations, we will have a round of question and answers. Please note down your questions for each speakers in the chat box, or later you can ask them these questions yourself. I would like to first give the floor to Adiyoke Alukemi Akinyele to tell us about their experience with UFRO. Adiyoke is a reader in the Department of Forest Production and Products at the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. At UFRO, she is the Deputy Coordinator of Division 2's Unit on Hardwood Improvement, Culture and Genetic Resources, and as well as the Alternative Representative for Nigeria in UFRO International Council. Adiyoke, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Davoka. It gives me great pleasure to be here this morning or afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you've joined us at this period. So the youthful cuisine. So let me start with my entry point into UFRO. And that entry point came through a colleague of mine who asked me who heard about UFRO and then said, you can make submission to this organization. And so I sent in my submission, my abstract for the conference. And I'm sure what I got is what most scientists are familiar with. I got rejected presentation. And I was so shocked. I was not happy at all until about 2 weeks later. I don't know what happened. And I got accepted for poster presentation. And that was my entry into UFRO. Not only that, did I get my poster and my presentation accepted for poster. Some 3 months later, I got a message from the organization saying that and Paddy him.
Adiyoke? I think there's some.
I found out that my organization, the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, had been a member of UFRO, but they terminated their membership in 1996. So after UFRO 2010, the first thing I did when I got back to Nigeria is to encourage my colleagues to join UFRO. So with my colleagues' support and everyone, we activated the institution's registration. The institution did not pay the registration fee, but among ourselves, we decided to contribute and we're paying our institution's registration. And that is what we still do up till date. And quite a number of times, we have UFRO helping us out to also pay the dues. So from that 2010, I followed through UFRO. I was in Nairobi, Kenya in 2012. And what I also make sure I do is that whatever conference they have, I also participate actively in every training workshop. So I had a workshop through UFRO on writing convincing research proposal in Nairobi in 2012. In 2014, I was in Salt Lake City, and we also had another workshop on communicating forest science, making research work in Snowbird, Utah, USA. And later in 2019, I was in Curitiba, where we also had another conference and a workshop where we talked about implementing forest landscape restoration in Africa and Asia. So all these opportunities have exposed me to different people, different researchers, senior scientists, different training that has over the years improved my development, my growth, and my career progression. And so through UFRO, and then the same 2020, some of us that were at UFRO 2019 workshop, we came together to have a reunion. In 2020, through UFRO, I got to be a member of FONESA, and I was involved in the election that was conducted. Then in 2021, there was also this UFRO program on UFRO's knowledge and information management that I got to be involved with. And then in 2021, I was also involved in UFRO's restoration education, a call to collective action. So currently, as mentioned, I'm the deputy coordinator for my UFRO Division 2 on artwork improvement, culture, and genetics resources, and I'm the alternative representative for Nigeria in UFRO International Council. When I joined UFRO in 2010, I was a lecturer too, but over the years, I've been able to progress in my career, in my academic pursuit, in my development. And since that UFRO 2010 that I attended my first conference, I've been able to expand my professional and social network to other countries in Africa, other continents of the world. And for me, it has been an awesome and rewarding
Sorry. Adi, okay? I think there's some technical difficulties. Maximilian, do you want to step in?
It's the connection speed.
These are some of the pictures of the places I've been to through UFRO, and people that I have met under UFRO. And of course, I'm looking forward to seeing you in soon. Yes?
Oh, I think there was a lag. We lost you in the middle. I think there was some technical difficulties, but now we can hear you well. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't know where you lost me, but I had finished.
Oh, I think it was towards the very end where it was slightly choppy, but I believe we understood the gist of the conversation. So
okay, all right.
Perfect. And I'm sure, and there's time for questions, so we could always come back and chat more about your experiences.
Right.
So no, thank
you
you so much. This was very insightful, and thank you for staying with us for these 10 years, and I'm sure there's more to come. I would now like to give the floor to Ida Wallen. Ida is the Chair for Forest and Environmental Policy at the University of Freiburg in Germany. At UFRO, Ida is the coordinator of the UFRO Working Group on Media Analysis and a member of the Task Force on Gender Equality in Forestry. Ida, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Richard. I hope you can see my slides.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. So, hi everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. And I hope you who are listening will find some helpful hints in this presentation for how to engage with a UFRO. So I was already introduced now by Diksha, so I'm not the chair, but I'm working as the chair of environmental policy at the University of Freiburg in Germany. And I'm also the initiator and coordinator of working group 90107. And I've collected here at the bottom of the slide a few examples for how my research content and activities have been spread through the IUFRO channels during the last half year. This is just as an inspiration for how one can benefit from the great communications team at the IUFRO headquarters. So first we had an IUFRO spotlight covering our special issue on social sciences in the bioeconomy. And my institute organized a conference in cooperation with IUFRO Division 905, the International Forest Policy Meeting #3. And I also recently made a YouTube video about why one should study forestry. So there are just a multitude of ways for how to engage with IUFRO. And today I just wanted to focus on the IUFRO mechanism that has been most beneficial for me personally over the years, and coincidentally also was my first contact with IUFRO. And that is, as many has already pointed out during this lunch, is the World Congresses that take place every 5 years. So my IUFRO journey started in 2014. At that time, I was halfway through my PhD project in Sweden. And I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to travel to Salt Lake City and the World Congress there. And I just remember being totally overwhelmed by the sheer size of the conference. It was amazing. And I was trying to go to all the sessions I could possibly fit into my schedule, which was a total newbie mistake that I wish not for you to do. And it was really good to take longer breaks in between the sessions and take the time to talk to the fellow participants, because that meant that I could have more in-depth learning, could have really great ideas together with participants, and of course do networking. And the networking with other researchers is so crucial for increasing your chances to do interesting research and find good positions in the future. So this is really the first most important for me within IUFRO. And the World Congresses are, in my perspective, the place for making new contacts and also upholding old ones. And it's really just fun because you can really encounter everyone there. And these large events, you can really feel that you're part of a strong research community. And even if you so want, a big IUFRO family, which is very nice. And I also wanted to tell you how you can make your participation in these World Congresses even more special, and present another great mechanism that has also been mentioned by Alexander previously. So I had also the great fortune to go to the last IUFRO Congress 2019 in Curitiba, Brazil. And this time I can attend thanks to the fact that I received the Ordra Award for Outstanding Doctoral Thesis. And the prize was, of course, the honor and a glass statue. But I also got to travel to Brazil from Europe paid by IUFRO. So thank you for that, IUFRO. And the fact is that in the running up to every World Congress, every IUFRO division appoints one Ordra Award winner. So there are 9 recipients every 5 years. And they also award, as we heard, the best master thesis or the student award in each division. So writing a great thesis and being nominated for the Ordra Award or best student is another IUFRO mechanism for engagement that you shouldn't miss out on. But I also want to maybe make a disclaimer here, because it feels a bit absurd to talk about World Congresses and overseas travels and networking in person when the situation looks so totally different today than it is back in 2019 or 14. And that both considering the pandemic and greenhouse gas emissions from traveling. So the question is, can we really expect to meet researchers from 5 continents in one place every 5 years in the future? Maybe not. I honestly hope that there will be more hybrid formats of conferences, both in person and online participation, both together is possible. And since the networking at World Congresses and other events is so crucial, especially for young researchers and students, there is a great need for innovation to find meaningful ways of interaction without traveling. So I'm just very happy that this event takes place here today. I think that's a step in the right direction, and I hope you will all connect meaningfully with as many as possible during today. But I also hope that many of you get the possibility to travel to the next World Congress in 2024, especially since Stockholm is my hometown and it's nothing but beautiful in June. And you might not see these mountains as in Salt Lake City and in Curitiba or Brazil, but it's beautiful nonetheless. So just to reiterate, networking at online and offline events, receiving an order award, initiating new working groups, and then spreading your research over the different IUFRO channels. Those are my best tips for engaging with IUFRO. So thank you for listening, and I wish you all a nice IUFRO day, World Day, and great success in networking. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ida, and thank you for those helpful tips as well. And finally, we now have Elisabeth Potzelberger. Elisabeth is the head of the Resilience Program at the European Forest Institute in Bonn. At UFRO, Elisabeth is the Deputy Coordinator of Division 1's Unit on Temperate and Boreal Silviculture. Elisabeth, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm also very pleased to speak to you today and be able to share with you my IUFRO story. I've already been introduced, maybe some additional brief background information. So I studied ecology in Salzburg, natural resources management, and ecological engineering in Vienna and Prague. And I did my PhD at the Institute of Silviculture at Boca University in Vienna. There I worked for a total of 13 years with some interruptions, for example, for a half-year research stay in the US before in 2020 I became, as you said, head of the Resilience Program at the European Forest Institute in Bonn. And my current roles in IUFRO are, on the one hand, this deputy coordinator position of this division 10100 on temperate and boreal silviculture, but I'm also happy to be member of two task forces, so the Resilient Planted Forests Serving Society and Bioeconomy, and the task force on transforming forest landscape for future climates and human well-being. And my involvement with IUFRO started shortly after I finished my PhD in 2015. My entry point was actually through another science network, a cost action, which is an EU-funded networking project where, in our case, scientists and practitioners from 36 countries across Europe collaborated on the topic of non-native tree species. And it turns out that several of the participants were office holders and participants in IUFRO. So my first role in IUFRO then was as a member in the task force on planted forests, which I joined by invitation of the coordinator who was a member in that non-native tree species cost action. Through this task force, I got into contact with the New Generation Plantations platform NGP of WWF, a working platform of scientists and timber processing companies from around the world, whose visionary but also pragmatic landscape approach for combining biodiversity protection, social benefits for the local population, and economically viable businesses was certainly very influential on my thinking. And by the way, NGP and IUFRO did allow me to also participate in two really inspiring events, one in a restored Atlantic rainforest close to Sao Paulo, directly after the last IUFRO World Congress in Curitiba, and a networking meeting in Mozambique a bit later that year. I must say, and similarly to what the previous speaker has said, unfortunately with the pandemic and global lockdown, such opportunities have become rare. And while I appreciate how much time and carbon we can actually save by not traveling in person to dozens or actually hundreds of meetings each year, I do very much hope for the now young generation of researchers that they will get their chance to explore the world and study different ecosystems and work in different environments to develop their differentiated view of the world. But this is more as a side note. Then how did the story continue? Also through another member of that cost action that I mentioned before, I was who was at that time the coordinator of the division 10100, I was connected with a newly established research and practice platform, the Resilient Future Forest Lab, that with its first activities in Central Asia that links to IUFRO's special program for development capacities, SPDC, that has been mentioned also. And I was encouraged to join another task force dealing with forest landscape restoration, what nicely related to the work I was doing in Georgia and in Ethiopia on restoration of the degraded forest landscapes. So today my contacts, learning and experiences from all these IUFRO and IUFRO related networks are really very beneficial for my professional and research life. And definitely also helped me to exceed to my current position as head of the resilience program at the European Forest Institute, which is an international organization that, similar to IUFRO, brings together diverse forest-related science disciplines and makes research accessible to policymakers, practice, and the broader society. And I believe that IUFRO can have a similar importance for all you young or also already more mature researchers. Not only that it gives you access to a rich pool of knowledge from all over the world on whatever forest-related topic you are working in, regional knowledge that is really indispensable if you aim for finding locally applicable and feasible solutions to the big challenges of today, like forest adaptation or biodiversity protection. And also when you advance in your career and start to write research grant proposals, you will find a great number of potential collaborators to involve in your project consortia. And for me, it's clear, great research today is multidisciplinary and respects both the global, big global challenges, as well as the need to consider regional differences and adapt your results and approaches to the realities on the ground. And I think this you will hardly be able to achieve on your own, but rather with a great international network of high profile and motivated collaborators. And this is what IUFRO gives you access to. So thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. It was so inspiring to hear all of your stories and learn about the opportunities that led you to participate in UFRO. I'm glad to hear that these activities have been beneficial for developing your career. We now have about 15 minutes for questions and comments from the floor. You may either raise your hand or also you could insert a note in the chat box now for our speakers. Maybe while the questions are coming in, I could ask one of my own questions, and I'll direct it to all three of you. Perhaps we could start with Adioke. But based on your experience, is there anything in particular that you would encourage young professionals to do? Do we have?
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Dakota. Yeah, one thing I would want to encourage the young scientists, researchers to do is not to give up. You know, there is need to be persistent, because when I got the rejection mail in 2010, I had made up my mind that the next call I would submit again, and I would continue to until I'm given the opportunity. So please don't give up. Then make sure you do quality research, something that would, you know, that will be attractive, something that will be acceptable, not just anything. If your work is good enough, then it will get the recognition it deserves. Thank you.
Perfect. No, great. Thank you. And maybe I could direct the same question to Ida as well.
Yes, thank you. I think that was a very good recommendation there from Maddie. Okay. Maybe not give up, but also there is always funding for going to events. So even if you don't receive awards, I think the first Congress I funded through a labor union in Sweden that had stipends for young people. So there is always so many opportunities that we don't know about. So it's my recommendation is, if you want to do something, just look for opportunities. There will be ways. So, and then of course not giving up, even if there's rejection at some point. And everyone who is engaged in the UFRO is always very welcoming when you contact them. So don't hesitate to write and ask if you can join something. That will be my recommendations.
Perfect, thank you. And Elizabeth, please.
Yeah, maybe a bit complementary to what Adioke and Ida said. I would like to focus maybe more on the less on the spreading your research part of the story, but also about this really great learning opportunities that IUFRO delivers. And this is something that I would really like to encourage people to explore and to benefit from, because I really do believe that this is an unbelievable opportunity to be able to speak to people from across the world, hear their stories, how they do the research, how things work in their settings, in their environments, because we all grow up in certain regions and we think we're confident that we more or less understand how the world works. But when you go to different places, it all looks different, and the relationships among people and between practice and science and whatever, all is different, and also the ecosystems work differently and so on. So really do use IUFRO also as this enormous knowledge and experience pool.
Great. No, thank you, all of you. There was some great advice there, and I'm sure it's very helpful to our fellow colleagues listening. I don't see any hand up. If there's any question, please feel free to raise your hand, or again, put your question in the chat box, and I'm sure our speakers would be happy to take them.
Can I quickly add something, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I got my first opportunity through UFRO from a colleague who told me about UFRO. So I'm going to advise the younger scientist, you can't afford to be an island. You must learn to relate with your colleagues so that you can get information from them. At the same time, don't also hoard your own information. When you have information, please spread it out. Let others hear about it. If it is yours, you will get it. Thank you.
Great. No, that was great advice. And maybe just to build on that a little, then, as you already mentioned, that network is very important. How do you think would be the best way to stay connected and initiate those conversations or stay in touch with people within the forestry world? And maybe I could start with Elizabeth in that one.
Well, yeah, what the pandemic has shown us, that there is really